I'm Marci, a children's book expert and mom of 4.
I'm Kami, children's book author and mom of 3. And this is Moms Love Kids Books.
Today we're doing Throwback. We decided to look at books from our childhood, some of our favorites to read when we were kids.
It's a funny thing that there's certain, I'm sure we read a zillion books growing up, and which ones you actually remember. There are books that I can remember pages of, but I couldn't tell you anything about the plot or what book it is. And there are ones that I found in the wild, I know this. I know that I have read this story before somewhere in my heart. But one that I have never forgotten is Strega Nona.
A classic.
Classic, Caldecott winner, Caldecott honor book by Tomie dePaola. And the story is, it's like a thin story. It's like the book is really little, and you can tell this might be from either from my childhood home or from a thrift store where it's from somebody else's childhood home. And it's about a local witchy woman who was always healing people, and her secret side hustle is she makes pasta through an incantation. And she hires an assistant, and he hears the incantation but does not understand how to make it stop. So Strega Nona leaves, and he decides to get some acclaim, and he starts brewing pasta but doesn't know how to turn it off. And I just really love he's such a the whole time he just is such a dunce. We must protect our town from the pasta. And I think this is one thing that I love about children's books is the absolute suspension of belief that yes, this is a world where there's a healer woman who makes pasta, and that if you don't use the right words, the pasta will just keep growing and growing and boiling so much that the mayor has to shout, get mattresses, tables, doors, anything to make a barricade. They're barricading the pasta. And I love that it just is a bonkers premise that makes no sense, but that it's silly, and you think oh no, the pasta. And I remember as a kid being the pasta, it's gonna take over the whole city.
This says on the front, an old tale retold.
Oh,
do you know anything about that?
I don't know anything about that.
I don't know that I've ever read this book, which is probably crazy because I recognize it, and I'm sure it was read to me as a child. I feel
yeah, it's in the circuit.
Some elementary school teacher definitely had this book, or we had this book, and I have this idea of what you're talking about, but I don't remember. I'll have to check it out.
That's funny.
But I'm interested to know more.
An
is
old
this
tale retold? Yeah, did that come
is
from
this an Italian
folk
fable that
No
who
idea.
knows? It's kind of fun.
But I just absolutely love it, and I love at the end that
Big Anthony.
His punishment. The whole town is string him up, kick him out of town, and Strega Nona is no. He has to eat the pasta. Make him eat the pasta. And so you see him eating the pasta, and he's sick. And it ends with what will happen now. Is there going to be another pasta catastrophe? I remember thinking about pasta catastrophes. My children don't actually like this book all that much. But I bring it out every so often as I'm are you ready for Strega Nona? And it's been a while, so I think I'm due.
Yeah, it's cute.
Strega Nona.
Good one.
Tomie dePaola.
Okay, I brought The Very Bad Bunny, and this is one, maybe some of you older adults remember the I Can Read All by Myself beginner books. I feel a lot of Dr. Seuss, and we had a ton of these, and I don't remember if that was a subscription that my mom
there must have been
or how
this through Scholastic book fairs or whatever the equivalent of the Costco book pile where everybody there. I feel there was a stack of books that everybody had. That were in this series.
And it wouldn't have been, I was thinking maybe it was mailed to our house, but I feel this was way before that
Dolly Parton is the person who figured out how to do that.
Yes, Imagination Library. If we haven't talked about that yet, we will.
Yes.
Maybe we have. Okay. Anyway, Very Bad Bunny. So this is one, it was from my childhood. My mom, a couple years ago, gave us a bunch of books that it was here are the books that you loved, and here are the books that your brother loved, and here's the books that he loved. And, this is one I remember, and it's one that I haven't really seen around. I know there's another.
I don't actually recognize it. I recognize the stamp in the series, but I don't actually recognize this one.
And And then it was funny because she gave me a couple other books that it's like, I don't remember liking this book. And she's like, you ask for this book all the time.
The memory vortex. That's what I mean. It's like there were books that
okay.
Which ones stick with you? There's no science to it.
Yeah.
And there's
and is she remembering correctly?
Oh, sure.
But I think she is. And it's like, yeah, I probably loved this when I was 5, and it just does not speak to me now.
I don't remember loving it.
Yes. Okay. The Very Bad Bunny is about, this is probably my favorite part, PJ Funny Bunny.
The best name.
You just can't.
Well, he kind of looks like a cutesy version of Roger Rabbit.
Yes, I'd say so.
There's no other association with Roger Rabbit.
It says, PJ Funny Bunny did not mean to be bad, but sometimes he could not help it. And so I feel like he's this bunny, he's got these siblings, and they just, he must be the youngest or one of the youngest, and they just can't with him. Like, you cut up the newspaper, you tangled up my yo-yo, and I feel like I related to that as a kid. It's like, you do things and you're not trying to be bad, but then you don't know
yet that you're being naughty. You're just like exploring the world or doing, if you're precocious in some way. I recognize this behavior in some of my kids where it's like, don't you know you shouldn't be doing that? And it's like, I have to remind myself, no.
They don't.
They don't know. They're just...
Or even if they do, it's not like intentional,
Yeah.
They're, I always liked... I just feel like it's very colorful. It's very like, it's very like the lines are very bold. It's a pretty fun book. But there's this part, let's see. It says, the funny bunnies could not believe it. They had never seen such a bad bunny.
No.
And I have this experience. I just remember feeling like I'm the bad kid in this family. I'm the one who gets in trouble. I'm the one with the attitude. And just really relating to this character, even though my family was always very, forgiving of me, and I have turned out to be a great adult, if I say so myself. Mom.
True. I wonder how many kids feel like that they're the bad kid, because kids they don't see their siblings often getting in trouble.
Yeah. Or you don't feel it the way you feel when you're in trouble.
Your sibling gets in trouble, and that feels different than like you feel like you're being called out, especially if you don't feel like you're trying to be bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in this book, then one day, PJ's little cousin Binky comes to visit, and he is just so bad. And at the end, it goes back to this.
Like all a matter of comparison.
The funny bunnies could not believe it. They had never seen such a bad bunny. And the PJ Funny Bunny gets to say at the end, now that was a very bad bunny. And just that, that's a family, it's like...
This right here, everybody's like, oh, I'm tired.
Yes. Man, he was awful. They're like, yeah, okay, we relate. Anyway, it's a cute story. It's a fun story. It's fun to read. So.
And it reminds us of childhood. I love that.
And it reminds us of childhood.
So we've got Strega Nona by Tomie dePaola.
This is The Very Bad Bunny by Marilyn Sadler.